Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, brothers and sisters. In this video, we are going to talk about changes in supply. So there are two types of changes in supply. First one is increase in supply. Second one is decrease in supply. So I would like to remind you again to differentiate between the changes in quantity supply and also changes in supply. So changes in quantity supply illustrated in our model. When there is a movement from one point to the another point on the same supply curve. And the reason for changes in supply to happen is the factor or the what we call as price factor. So the only reason is price factor, ceteris paribus. Whereas the second one, the one that we are going to discuss in this video, is changes in supply. So how do we know there is a changes in supply? In our model, if you have more than one supply curve, like for example this curve, we have supply curve 1 and supply curve 2, meaning that we have changes in supply. So what's the reason for the changes in supply to happen in our market? All factors, all determinant except price, or we call it as non-price determinant. So this is the example that I would like to share with you. Okay, so originally this is our equilibrium point, E0, at which we have price equilibrium naught and also quantity equilibrium naught. And then something happened to the market. Okay, for example, the government give more subsidy to the supplier, then what happens? Supplier will be motivated to produce more. Even though the price, let's say in our example, we use car as example, the price of car remain the same, but when the government gives subsidy to the provider or producer of the car, then the car producer will increase the supply of the car. Okay, so the result is the supply curve will shift to the right. From this curve to this curve. We have S0, the original one, and S1, the new supply curve. Alright, guys, what happened here? Quantity supply increase from this point to this point. Why? Because we have the new supply curve now. Okay, then what happened to the market? The horizontal distance from this point to this point is what we call as surplus. Okay, we call it as surplus. What is surplus? Do you remember? Surplus is a condition when the quantity supply is greater than the quantity demanded. Okay, so here is the quantity demanded and this is the new quantity supply. So we can see here the quantity supply is greater than the quantity demanded. Now we have surplus in the market. Okay, as usual, price mechanism will play its role. Okay, it will push the price to fall when there is a surplus. Logically thinking, when we have extra supply of car in our country, then the price of that car will be forced to fall. Okay, from this point to this point. So guys, think about the concept that we discussed before. When the price decline or price fall, what happened to the quantity demanded? The quantity demanded will increase from this point to this point. This is our original quantity demanded and this is our new quantity demanded. Okay, our quantity demanded will increase. I say quantity demanded, why? Because the price changes now. Okay, and what happened to the quantity supply? When the price fall, quantity supply, which is originally here, will fall from this point to this point. Okay, and now we have the new equilibrium point that I label as E1 here. So what I can conclude is, when there is a changes in supply, the result is quantity demanded will increase. Originally, the quantity demanded is here. Now the quantity demanded is here. Quantity supply will increase as well. Originally, our quantity supply is here. Now, our quantity supply is at this point. Okay, and price will fall. Price equilibrium, the original price equilibrium is here and the new price equilibrium is lower than the previous price. Okay, so that's the conclusion if we have decrease or increase in supply. Okay, so now let's change our scenario. Let's say we have increase in supply. Decrease in supply. If we have decrease in supply, then our supply curve will shift to the left. So this is S0, this is S1. Okay, so let me change the label first. Okay, so this is our original equilibrium point, E0. And this is our price equilibrium node, the original one, and quantity equilibrium 1. The previous ataupun the original quantity equilibrium. Alright. So let's say something happened to the market that we call as non-price determinant. Let's say the government is now imposing tax to the car manufacturer. Okay, the government is imposing tax to the car manufacturer. So what happened to the car manufacturer? The cost of production will increase. Then as a result, they will be discouraged to produce more car. Or in other words, they will produce less car. Then what happened to the supply curve? The supply curve will shift to the left. Okay, the supply curve will shift to the left. So this is our original point where the quantities supplied prevail. So what happens if we have our supply curve to shift to the left? Then the quantity supply will, the supply will decrease from this point to this point. Remember, our quantity demanded stay here. Okay, it's just quantity supply reduced from this point to this point. Alright, so now we are in the situation where we have shortage. Why shortage? Because quantity demanded is here, quantity supply reduced. So we don't have adequate or enough number of cars to be supplied in our country. Okay, so logically thinking, when we have shortage, the price mechanism will force the price to increase. Then the price of